Our talk was on predictive analytics in legal as a machine learning perspective. Mainly because what happens today is that you have data analytics in all the different domains, whether it's marketing, e-commerce, banking. But legal is one of those which has not welcomed analytics so far yet. So that is the reason why we thought like we could figure out a domain where analytics has not made much of an inroads, but at the same time which has a huge bearing on the society that we live in. That is where we zeroed in on legal. Unfortunately, although we wanted to do something in the Indian context, the data was not readily available, and that's where we had to go back to the US legal system where there's plenty of data available, and we figured out we landed on what is known as the US Court of Appeals, where the court can rule in 11 different outcomes. So in the process, what we did was we took the data and tried to understand what all those different columns and rows and everything mean, try to condense it, make it more meaningful, and in the end, we developed different models which can predict what the outcome of the US Court of Appeals would be. It can be applied. Actually, there is some data which is there, but it is not in an open source or something that is readily available to us. So if something like that can be done, for example, today, the amount of time that it takes for a quick case to run through the system can even run into decades. But at the same time, every case has a lot of other cases which were very similar to it in the past, which in the legal context is called precedents. So if we can identify the cases which were similar, the precedents, and make it available to the judge, so the judge can refer to those precedents and make a ruling on a case in a much shorter amount of time. So what runs into decades or years today, that can be reduced to a very significantly small duration. Yeah.
Last one and a half year, we have been hearing a lot about analytics, big data, both in the global scenario and in the Indian scenario. So it has grown a lot, and a lot of companies are talking about analytics. I don't want to mention about big data, that is separate. But there's a lot of companies which are adopting analytics these days, and also the business schools. And I heard somewhere that analytics is going to be a mainstream course in the degree colleges or your graduations. So there's a lot of focus on the analytics these days, and I think that is the way forward in the future.
It's inevitable, because no matter what you do, you have to somehow figure out how to work with numbers. And once you have numbers in there, they have to figure out how to use it the best for both the organization or even at an individual level. Like in the case of legal, what we are doing here is that any changes that can be brought in legal, especially in the context of digital India, where there is a focus on optimizing things. If railways can become more efficient today because they are using their data much more efficiently, why can't it happen in legal? And the impact that it can have on the society is tremendous. No matter how many products you sell, you will not be able to make the kind of impact as to saying, okay, if I can reduce the time it takes to resolve a case in the court from 10 years to maybe 1 year, that's a huge difference that it makes in the society.
And just to add to that, analytics, we feel mostly it's in the retail, marketing, finance, but okay, that was what was happening earlier. But these days, if you see, actually analytics is being applied in aerospace, even social media, e-commerce. All these platforms have started using aerospace is using a big time analytics for predicting whether the flight will land on time, or whether servicing has to be done, any preventive maintenance. So they are using analytics in this space a lot these days. So definitely, as I mentioned, there's a lot of growth for analytics which has happened in the last 5 years and in going future as well.
If you go back to the time when programming in the 90s, there were not enough developers regardless of in any language. But as it went on, there was a big demand for developers, and people made a lot their careers out of it. Today, I can see a lot of things, what is happening in the data analytics to what happened in the mid-90s with development and web technology. So there is a lot of buzz about it. There's a lot of things that possibilities as to what can be done. Some of them will become reality, some of them may not become reality, but what it definitely offers is that it offers a lot of people a lot of careers. Today, we may not even be able to predict what those careers would be. For example, when somebody talked about, when the web was evolving in the mid-90s, if someone talked about search engine optimization and then how you can drive traffic into your business using the numbers from how people use the web, that was a far-fetched idea. Similarly, the ideas that are talked about in analytics could be far-fetched, but at the same time, it is definitely a possibility. So for anyone looking for a career in analytics, this is the time to get in. If you wait, there'll be a lot of others who would have already got in. You might be just one of the players, but you will not be a leader.
And what we also know is just the beginning of the analytics journey, and it is yet to grow a lot. So in the future, I'm sure there is a lot of talent requirement, skill requirement, both as a data analyst, data scientist, business analyst. So what we have talent today, may be limited, but in the future, there are a lot of opportunities that is going to come into analytics.
Fundamentals. Focus on fundamentals. When we joined this program, we were all fascinated with all these techniques about random forest, neural networks. It was great to talk about and make ourselves look really good. But over the course of the program, what we realized is that we have to understand the fundamentals right. As to, if you want to make sense of their data and then be able to convert it into something that is meaningful, based on which you can either make decisions or do something that is more meaningful to anybody, you have to understand what is going underneath. So that is where the fundamentals comes in. You might have gone through statistics and things like that in your high school or in your early college days, but that was more from a textbook knowledge. But today, when we approach the same topic and the same subjects, we were looking at it more from an application standpoint. What does a mean really mean? What does it mean to say, okay, standard deviation is, it may sound very simple because any high school student can answer that, but what happens underneath that, and when we talk about logistic regression, how it can help organizations get more insight into what they're doing, why they're doing, and what is it that they could have done better. That is something which, no matter how good an expert is out there, whose intuition is the primary driver, data can convince someone much better.
From my side, I think the tips would be just don't focus on analytics as well, because the domain is also very important. Like when we started the legal domain, we didn't know I didn't know a single clue of what it was. So we had to start from ABC and learn the domain. Okay, we are not an expert still, but understanding of the domain is very important to derive insights out of your whatever model you are developing, and don't concentrate only on the models. As I told, basics are very important. How to read the model, and I think that is more important. Get the basics right. You don't need a high-end software always to run analytics. You can do it in a simple Excel as well. So we should be able to simplify the problem and go forward.
Yes, prior to joining, I did a lot of these online courses, whether it's Coursera, Udacity. I was able to get certain parts of it, but the fundamentals was lacking. I was able to run the models, I was able to get the output, but how to interpret the output and what does it really mean, that is something which I felt that there was no structure to what I was learning. I was learning bits and pieces in a scattered manner. So once I went through the program, I was able to get that more into an organized fashion. I was able to understand, okay, here is what is going on, why I need to learn these things first before I jump into all these models that are out there. So today, I can say that yes, I have made some good inroads in there, but definitely looking for a real-time challenge on how I can implement it on the ground.
Well, we have just completed and the journey has started. Okay, one thing I can definitely tell is the program was very well structured. So, as you told, we got a very good background of this. On the career front, no, the companies have started. At least my management has started talking to me on a lot of things, how analytics can be used, and even I am trying to see how we can use analytics in our in our companies, in our scenarios. So yeah, we are just beginning our career transition towards the analytics. So I still have some journey to take there.
For a start, we got invited to this conference.
Yeah, that is the most important part.
It's a great opportunity to present in front of a lot of people who are knowledgeable in analytics. That is one. Second thing is, what I see is that definitely an opportunity to share our experience and then maybe even teach and learn in the process. See a lot of opportunity for that. There is a lot of misconception and what we call it as a fascination towards data analytics. So maybe when someone comes and talks to us to say, okay, I want to become a data scientist, give them a more realistic picture as to what it involves, and probably even guide them as to how they need to become or get more interest into this area. So yeah, as of now, has our career changed? Not yet, but definitely it is going, in one manner or the other, it is going to make a difference in how we progress going forward.
But the program actually gives us a very good understanding of what the analytics market is looking at as a professional, right? When you see, a requirements being floated, or when you see or read anything, you know what the companies are looking for. You can actually connect to what they want. If you ask 1 year back, we didn't know what they were saying, but today the companies are looking for what are the latest trends in the market. Okay, because analytics is also evolving daily, right? So what are the trends that are coming up, and where you should be, concentrating on. So that way, it has really helped us, in right now, building our career for sure.
Yeah, the other part of it is that when you interact with somebody who is really knowledgeable in data analytics, for example, the faculty within Great Lakes, right? They come from various different backgrounds with lots of experience. Some of them are academic and many of them have been in the industry, so they are able to link the two. And when you talk to them and try to learn from them, it is an experience where you are saying that, okay, yeah, if the fact that I'm not able to cut down on attrition, yeah, that is just a problem. And everyone will say, okay, yeah, I have the same problem. But when you talk to these people who have been in the industry, they will say, okay, here is what you need to think about. What should be your approach? Should you just understand the data first, understand the problem first? And if so, how? And once you understand the problem, how are you going to find a solution for that? So there is a certain guidance and the structure that comes along with it. So engaging with all of them, both within the program and outside of the class, that is a big, big help. And made a lot of good friends in the process. I'm sure that we will be talking to them a whole lot more. We got to see a lot of them here in the conference today, and surely we will be working closely with each other for a long time. As Cypher, again, looking at when you saw, what is it, 50 some speakers which are there, so that is a lot to learn from. And I don't think there are too many conferences which have this many number of speakers who come from different backgrounds and what they have done, and they're all very well qualified. So for someone like us who's trying to break into or transition into the data analytics, it starts giving us ideas as to what is a possibility. There are people who have done it in the medical areas, there are people who are in the supply chain, others in banking, and many of them have cut across domains and worked in different other areas. Some have become just consultants. So when we are looking at it, and then we had to evaluate that against our strengths and say, okay, what future that does create for me. So definitely being here at Cypher is a wonderful experience, and being able to present, that's an icing on the cake.
Yeah. So when we went through the presentation, obviously we had a lot of feedback and all. So that it's a big learning. And I was really overwhelmed by the number of speakers that are there, the various topics that are being discussed. It's definitely a big learning. And this being our first, we passed out only last week, and this next week we are attending a big conference like this. So this is definitely gives us a lot of advantage and a lot of insights as well, and definitely a lot of learning for us in this. And just the experience of being here and presenting is really good actually.